most of you aren't driven. You're technically medicating. You are using the stress of a looming deadline, of chaotic inbox, a trigger dopamine spike, because you've forgotten how to create from a state of peace. You're running from Formula One engine on low-grade kerosene, and you're wondering why you're vibrating towards a breakdown, or you may feel burned out. Before I create the defense mechanisms up here, let's ask a question. Do you feel productive, or you just feel just busy? Do you feel like a phantom vibration in your pocket when your phone isn't there? I got to be honest, that's happened to me. That's not ambition. That's being dysregulated. And it's having a dysregulated nervous system that is throwing all this stuff off. All right, we're going to dive deep into this stuff. So I want to get into a little bit of the science to back up these things so you can kind of have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. And before we dive deep in, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out the show notes. We got a bunch of great stuff in there. I'll talk more about that in just a minute. But let's get into this. So hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. All right, this is the HPA axis. This is your stress response. It's cortisol. This is how your body responds to stress. When you're in the hustle, the grind, the sweat equity, all that good stuff, being busy all the time, doing that kind of thing, your nervous system, though, is perceiving a threat. There's a lion in the room, even though it's not there. And your nervous system's responding in that way. This is a lot what I teach in the chiropractic side of stuff, to truly try to shift people out of that. But even from our daily lives of what we're doing, it's constantly like that. And we're constantly firing this part of our nervous system. And in today's world, it's, especially if you're in business and just life in general, it's because I talk to so many different individuals in my chiropractic practice, where stay-at-home moms versus people in the career versus people, entrepreneurs, and they're all stressed, they're all burned out in some ways, and they're exhausted. And this key concept is that we're looking at where is our energy coming from in this process. So the HPA axis, when it works beautiful. It's a beautiful system. The body doesn't make anything out of mistakes. It's very intelligent. But what happens is there's a law to the body that most people know. What you don't use, you lose. Simple law. Makes sense. A lot of people know that one. The second one, which I just gave it away, is what you abuse, you lose. And so when you're really revving this nervous system, HPA axis, cortisol just dumping like crazy, norepinephrine, epinephrine, all these this adrenaline processes, we're revving this nervous system. And this is going to affect you in so many different ways when it comes to your mental health. It's going to affect you as if you're a business owner. Your creativity is not going to be there. That beautiful essence of who you have within you is not going to be there. As a mom, as a stay-at-home mom, the creativity you need to keep going with it through the day in, day out with the kiddos is not going to be there as much. And you're going to feel burned out. And so then we get more addicted because what do? I'm tired. I need more coffee. I need coffee. So you start with 1 cup and you're like, okay, fine. And then all of a sudden it's your survival liquid where you have to have it first thing in the morning when you wake up. And then it becomes, hey, 1 cup ain't working no more. I need 2. And then you have 2, and then you have 3. Next thing you know, you're being burned out, exhausted, fatigued, not sleeping well, don't know why, what's happening, what's going on. And we get addicted to these things. I'm a culprit of this just as much as anybody else. But I want to share a little bit more about why this happens. I want to dive just a little deeper into this element, because really the essence is dopamine. Okay. And dopamine is a molecule of more. It's not about satisfaction. I want to be clear on that. It's about more. How can I get more? Right. So what happens is the chronic dopamine seeking keeps the HPA axis on. And this is going to flood your body with cortisol. Cortisol is amazing in small amounts, in the right amount, and the right timing, and all that. It's horrible when you're looking at things that are going to be constantly exposure. And you have to understand, our life is dopamine. It's everything now, because you have Instagram and all the social media. You have the news outlets. You have all these different things trying to get dopamine kicks. So you'll go on the phone and you're scrolling, and an hour can go by like nothing, right? And you're like, wow, where'd that time go? And I've been there too. I get caught up, I'm gonna be honest, I get caught up down some reels that are funny, that are Italian people making, but it's things I enjoy and I want to learn more from. and I take ideas from it, I kind of make it here's my excuse. I make it constructive because I'm like, hey, you know what though? I'm learning things. I'm learning about stuff. I'm taking things I'm going to apply to my weekend. Sometimes I'll see a chef who's an Italian making some nice Italian dinner. I never knew, growing up Italian, the thing about, now I won't get too off tangent here, but it was one of those things where, people could talk about dishes, the names of dishes. I wouldn't know what they are. We had, hey, this is masticholi. That's what we're going to eat. Well, no, this is whatever of something. I don't know what that is. And it's just interesting because I didn't learn that part of it because we just made food and that was our food. I didn't get the Italian names on things most of the time. And so it's one of those things where, so when I'm seeing these guys make things, and most of the time it's male chefs, and it's interesting because then I'll be like, I didn't know what that is. Or wow, I want to try that out. So I've been cooking since I was 5. So I'm like, I see it. I can make that. That's not a problem. And I test it out. So yeah, that's my excuse, right? Sometimes. But we all have this dopamine kick affecting us in some way, shape, or form. We're always seeking more and more and more and more and more. How can I have more and more and more and more? This is the entrepreneurial trap. When I work with business clients, it's the same thing, right? They're like, man, Doc, I want to hit 50K months. And when I get to 50K months, I want 60. And I want to get to 70. Then I want 100K months. Man, then when I get to the million, I want to get 1.5. Then I want to go to 2. And then I want to go to 3. And then I want to go to 4. And I look and I go, when's it enough? Like, when are you going to be satisfied? Never, man. You're supposed to always be hungry. That's how you look at growth. That's how you know you're growing, when expanding. And I'm like, whoa. You got this all wrong. You're addicted. And you're never going to be happy. You'll never find that inner joy. I was that kid when I came out of chiropractic school. I was that kid when I hit my financial peak 5 years in my business. I know that, where you think you always got to get more. And I tell my business clients, hey, guess what? You're going to expand more, but we got to do it for the right reasons. I'm going to get into that in this episode. I promise towards the end of this, I'll hit those points. But I want to be really, really clear here that dopamine is not satisfaction. It's about more. And the more you're scrolling on a phone, the more you're getting caught up into the gossips of whatever dramas of life, the more you get pulled from the news outlets and they're trying to capture your attention, or the really triggering comments that you see on Facebook, because that's what Facebook's all about. Go Google or use AI to look up the strategies of what Facebook uses to get your attention. You'll understand that it'll pull more of that. Okay. And that's going to create a whole plethora of issues. So there was research done on this stuff, and I'm going to share a little bit about this, but it's called the reward prediction error. Okay. If you only live for the win, the high gets shorter every time, requiring more grind, more hustle, more sweat equity to feel the same level of success. And what this comes to being, and I fell in this trap, it leads to what you know as a prefrontal cortex shutdown. And that's literally going to make you less intelligent or creative. I'd rather less creative. Intelligence is also, intelligence is one thing, but creative, you're going to lose that. And you're going to lose the essence of who you are. If you want me to get to the bottom of it, you lose the uniqueness of who you are. And that's the critical part of this. And making sure that when you're doing, we get lost in this way and we lose ourselves in this path. And then we go, man, how did I get to this point? I don't understand how this happened. And it happens so subtly because it's so slow. It's so little at a time. Neurology takes time. It takes, as a chiropractor, I can't tell you how many times I tell patients as adults where it's like, oh, doc, I just tweaked my back. It's just, whatever, this and that. And if I have an x-ray or whatever that may be, my whole education piece is like, this took years to get to where you are. This didn't happen overnight. And I'll show you that. And if I have an x-ray, I can really show it to them. Because from an x-ray perspective, for me to see arthritis or degeneration or osteoarthritis, spondyl in an x-ray, it's 7 to 15 years. And I know when you get into these states, it's the same thing. It doesn't happen overnight. You don't doom scroll for, 30, 45 minutes in one night and all of a sudden this is all happens. This is a process. Takes a process. If you still listen to our last episode, I talked about the 84-day how to rewire the brain. And so this is a process. This happens over time and you lose the essence of who you are. That's the thing that I want to really hammer there. It's the essence of who you are and the creativeness, uniqueness. And as a business coach, this is what I try to bring out of clients so they can get the results of what they want to seek, so they can get out of this ceiling and all this other stuff and start to break away from it. Okay. So what I want to get into a little bit more now is understanding a little bit about brainwaves. I'm not going to get too deep in this, but there's 5 different types of brainwaves. You have your delta, your theta, your alpha, your beta, and then your gamma. Okay. Gamma is the really, really high. These are the Buddhist monks who can meditate and they can be in a gamma state. It's a really high activity, but they're extremely calm. It's pretty cool how that works. But what happens is that most people are more in a beta state. When you wake up, you're in a beta state. It's your alert state. This is where you're looking outside, looking at focus, external attention, stimulus, things like that. This is where anxiety will come from. It's just overacts like this. This is what beta is. It's just being excited. Okay. There's nothing wrong with beta. You're just most like that when you're at work and things like that. Right. But this is what most people are living in. And then there's an alpha, also a theta state. Okay. So alpha is a more focused, calm. So it's like being more centered in what you're doing. It's having that kind of energy to it. And then you have the theta, which is going to be your meditated state. As a children up to about age 5, 6, it's going to be your relaxation, deep internal thought. This is where your aha moments come in. You go into theta before you go into delta. These are kind of things that happen here. And so it's really, when we're looking at like how to break out of some of these things, we want to shift from a beta to an alpha and stay in alpha as much as you can. It's concentrated, centered, focused with no anxiety and so forth. And there's ways you can do that. We're going to get into that, but I'm going to share a couple things here with you, a little bit of some things that you can utilize and some strategies that have been there to help with that. When you look at athletes or people who are high performance individuals, people who get into the zone. I know when I played sports, I always tried to get into the zone, right? And I wish someone taught me this sooner, but it's just the way my course of life had to go, where someone taught me you don't have to try, you just have to be. Like, it's a being, it's a state. And then when you get there, and I've had in sports, before I learned this, now in life, I've learned how to tap into this now. But in sports, it was one of those things where when I did get into those slender little aspects of like the centeredness, the stillness, this beautiful place where things would just slow down. Like in my head, I remember playing baseball and I could be sitting there ready to hit. And I remember I was playing in a semi-pro league. It might have been an adult league, but I was 16. Technically, I should not have been playing in that league for 2 reasons. One, my high school doesn't allow that, but I didn't care because there's some issues with coaches and stuff, that politics in there, and I was just not happy with it. The second thing though is I was not 18, but I was a big kid. I was a big high schooler, so I looked the part. In other words, long story short, I remember I was there and I was excited to be there, and it put me in a state where I remember I was going to a bat, first game, and I hit 2 home runs. Don't ask me how. I didn't even know I hit the home run. Literally, I hit the ball, and it's like the sweet part of the bat, and I just ran. I didn't even look where the ball was. I knew it was near the gap, and I sprinted. And they're like, yo, slow down. It's a home run. And I'm like, what? And then the next time I came up, I hit one. It was opposite field. Again, same thing. It was in the gap, and I just thought, man, I was a very fast kid. So when I hit it in the gap, I'm like, I'm getting a triple. And I kept running. And that game, I did awesome. Every facet of my life in sports taught me this. When I was centered and calm, things just moved in a different way. Like I could see the ball, like a pitcher, like I said, when I was at bat, when the pitcher threw the ball, I could see it. I knew what they were going to throw. I knew where it's going to show up. And intuitively, like my body knew. It's weird. And I've done this so many times in other facets of my life. And that's the thing I'm trying to share with you. This is where power, and this is where high performance people come in. This is where athletes come in. And you have this to tap into yourself also. Because it's not about trying to be, doing harder and working harder. It's found in this, the technical term is transient hypofrontality. Okay. And this is where that self-critical part of your brain turns off. That's what that means. And you can get more into the centered place. You're not trying to think, try to figure everything out. Because I'll tell you, how many times I strike down in baseball when I was trying to figure out what pitch was coming next, where it was going to be located. He's going to throw a curveball. I have a feeling he's going to throw a curveball. He's going to throw right over here. I know he's going to throw that curveball. And instead, just being in the moment and trusting. And I had to learn this over and over and over again in many different aspects of my life. in business and in relationship and all these other things. But when you get into that place, this is when you shift from that beta hyper energetic type of state, and you can turn into that alpha. All right. So this is why most people, not always, but you always notice that like these deep insights, things that you were working on, things that you're trying to figure out, all this different stuff. Sometimes you get that aha moment in the middle of the night. Sometimes you get that aha moment in the shower, right? You could be brushing your teeth, just going off into space, and then boom, something comes. It's to shift from beta to alpha. And when you do this, you stop searching outside. Remember I said beta is an external search, and what you allow then is a reticular activating system to do its work. This is what's going to filter, this filters out information. It's going to allow you then to see, to deliver what you're seeking and to see it, your vision. And this is a little bit of a trick what I try to teach business clients, and I'm trying to share with you the power behind this so that when you're looking at your life and what you want to do, this could be one of those things to do. Now, for all this to work, this is where we have to get into stillness. Okay. One of the things I've taught ever since I got into coaching, and I've shared this many times in the podcast, is if you ever seen a hurricane, and you ever notice, it doesn't matter how big the hurricane is, Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 6, there's always the eye. And I love, like, YouTube has these videos. I geek out on these things. I love Mother Nature. And they can get planes. They go through a hurricane. These planes can fly through a hurricane and get into the eye. And then they record the eye. And it's like pure bliss. I mean, it's pure bliss. You can see birds flying in there and they're just flying around. The plane's so nice and smooth. But before you saw, they record and they're just like bouncing all over the place. That's like my worst. No, I'm not even going there. And then you'll see them get to the eye and it's just smooth. And it's just like a whole nother world inside this hurricane, right? Life is a hurricane. And life is always, every facet of life is pulling you out to make you forget who you are. It's pulling you out so you forget the essence of who you are. Remember when I said that the prefrontal cortex shuts down and that's the essence of you? And it's not there now. Now you're not that creative side of you, that uniqueness of who you are. The light, if you want to get real metaphysical and spiritual, it's the light of who you are, your soul, the essence. It's not being expressed anymore. It's dimmed. Not good. Humanity needs your light. And so a hurricane always has a still point. And that eye, right? The center's so calm. But it powers the whole storm. And that's you. And life's always trying to pull you away, but you need to pull your energy back to the center because that's where your power is. That generates more power than you can ever imagine. You want to talk about manifestation, you want to talk about all these other things, you want to track millions of dollars, whatever you want to do. That only happens when you center your power. My whole new shift in 2026 is focus on peace and you'll attract anything you desire. Find inner peace within. And you will. This statement about the hurricane, the analogy I just shared, that is the science behind it. Use nature as an example. You don't have to believe me, but we're going to go deeper because stillness is so powerful. You can get something called a quantum download. So you know how you can download something off a cloud, you're downloading something off the internet? Well, we do that too. I know it sounds weird, but in the spiritual, I learned this 15, 16 years ago. They'll talk about downloads. And I'm like, what the heck's a download? I mean, I'm a computer guy. I understand this. I understand what you're talking about. But how does this work? And they would explain it. And I'd be like, man, that makes a lot of sense. I think we can do that, right? So I want you to understand the difference between a quantum download. Some people call this a quantum leap. It's a timeline jump, right? So time is kind of like folded, weaved in, and you can jump timelines if you desire. You don't have to go step 1 to step 10. You can go step 1. You can go step 1. You don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way up to 10. You can go 1, 2, and then jump to 20 if you want. There's no rules to this. You choose, right? Because when you're in beta, when you're in a state that is constantly looking outside to see external stimulation, external validation, external all this, it's $1 to $1 equals 2. It's step 1 goes to step 2, step to 3. This is called linear thinking, linear process, right? We can call this Newtonian physics. Quantum physics is non-linear thinking. This is your alpha, especially your alpha theta state, all right? What it says is that, hey, it's a 10x idea that removes the steps for all the other steps. So you can go from 1 to 10. You can go 2 to 5. You can go 4 to 12. You jump massively ahead, okay? You can bypass those things. And I've experienced this many times in my life in many different facets of my life. I've done this with my health. I've done this in physical, working out. I've done this in business, financially. I'll tell myself, hey, I'm going to make this much amount of money and I want to grow to that level. And I just all of a sudden just let go and get into that place of stillness. And the more I stay still and don't look for external validation, right, that external stimulation, it usually works out for me. This is where you can drastically shift every facet of your life and you can jump. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be a millionaire tomorrow when you got $1 million in there, but the potentiality is there. I don't want to rule that out. What I'm trying to say, though, is that when we can come from a place of stillness, we step into that state of power. Some people like to use the word God. Like, if God's with me, I can move mountains with God. I can move mountains with this. And that's the power that you have within you. It's here too. You are made from God, so it's here. And you can tap into that energy. And that's your true essence. And that's what I'm trying to get at today. Now, there's some stuff to get into this. There's something called heart coherence. Dr. Joe Dispenza got into mind-heart coherence. Heart Math Institute does a ton of this too, where they get into it and they talk about like how when the heart and brain are in sync, known as presence. What we have known for many years is that the electromagnetic field that you have around you, the aura, the torus field, the biophotonic field, it expands out a lot. And your cognitive function will peak, which is going to stimulate more of that prefrontal cortex, which is going to allow you to become more into that state of stillness, which you open the door to allow things to come in more. It's a huge shift in your life. That is a game changer. And that's why I said, when you find inner peace within, all things that you choose will come. It's going to happen because you're letting down the barriers. You're not always looking to say, what is it? Is it showing up? Is it here? Is it we going to see? You lose that and you come from within, and it's a game changer. And you attract many different things. This will improve your relationships. It'll improve your health. It's going to improve business, financial, career, you name it. It's not about like, I need X, Y, Z to see this happen. It's like, no, I'm going to be that center of peace. It comes from within me first. And when I can have that stillness, I step back into my power. I step back into the essence of who I really am. And when you can get into that part, the power that's within you runs the universe. I want you to grasp that. And the path to that. Now, there may be other paths too. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm just sharing with you what I have experienced throughout my life. And I've worked with others teaching them this, is that path is finding the stillness within. Because that's where your power is. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you something. I like to get something practical here. I want to be able to help you give something that you can do, all right? So there's going to be 3 non-negotiables. We're going to call these like a little micro lab experiment that I want you to do, all right? I've written these out over here. I'm going to go through them. The first one is known as the 60-second reset. This is the HPA Axis interrupter, all right? Dr. Huberman, Huberman pioneered this called the physiological size. And I'm like, man, but that's been around for a while. Let's talk to yogis. But what I want you to do, I'm going to give him credit, even though I know yogis have done doing that and they talk about it. 3 times a day, you perform a physiological sigh. All it is 2 quick inhales through the nose, followed by a long exhale throughout the mouth. And what I want you to do, and I'm going to add a little different. I'm going to put my little twist on this, okay? This is going to stimulate the vagus nerve. It's going to lower your heart rate. It's going to help you calm a little bit. It's going to break down some of that cortisol responsing and help you shift. Is you're going to go. And then instead of just, I want you to have a deep sigh. I want a little vibration with it. Okay. I want to really stimulate this vagus nerve a little bit. So what you do is you're just going to go. You can tell I'm trying to go deeper. I can just feel the energy calming. I can feel my body relaxing a little bit. You can tell in my voice I got a little calmer. You add the vibration, it stimulates more of the vagal tone. You want to get it where you can vibrate in your heart center, okay? This heart chakra right here. I want throat for sure. I want to get heart chakra involved also. And it just helps you center and calm. It takes the pressure valve off a little bit of what life's pressuring you. And it gives you the opportunity just to center. I tell patients all the time as in my chiropractic office, like, when we're doing this neuro work and we're trying to help rebalance the nervous system and shift it to higher functioning states, we need something that just brings you back and resets it. I'm not trying to force it to change. I just need a reset because you're so built into a pattern of being a certain way. and your nervous system, your brain runs a certain default mode network. Go research what that is. It constantly runs in a certain way. You want to be able to reset that because you're constantly doing that. All right. Number 2 is going to be your alpha entry. This is like going to be a buffer. So when you wake up first thing in the morning, no screens for about 30 minutes. Because the blue lights and things like that are going to stimulate that beta response. I want you to stay in alpha for as long as possible. Because when you do the opposite, what you end up doing, especially the first thing you do is have coffee and these other things, what you end up doing is you're creating high cortisol first thing in the morning, and it's going to make it go higher and higher. And cortisol is higher in the morning, but we want to be able to come down quick so you can regulate. So because you got to understand, you're coming from delta, you're waking up, you're getting into theta, and then you're in alpha. When you're on your phone, when you're checking emails, going on social media first thing in the morning, it creates high stress. When you don't do any of those things, you don't do screens for at least 30 minutes, it allows you to get to a certain state. So usually for me, what I do is I wake up first thing in the morning and I'll go into a silent meditation, some breath work. I'll take 10 to 15 minutes. I don't do a full 30, but I do take 10 to 15 minutes for myself just to reset. And then when I'm ready, I want to start. I do some neural stuff or wake myself up. So I have a light that mimics the sun to start waking my brain up, just turn on serotonin and turn off the melatonin so my functioning in my brain can get there. And I do things like that. The third non-negotiable I want you to do is I just want you to sit for 5 minutes of observational meditation. Just sit there. And if your mind wanders off and you daydream or you're thinking about it, fine. The point is I just want you to get used to just listening and being aware of how much you pay attention to all the stuff that goes on through your mind. You're just going to observe. They're going to be popping up like crazy. And I just want you to observe, and it's going to be from being the thought to being the presence watching the thought. And that's just powerful, okay? Because when you get there, you're more in an alpha state. To give you a quick little analogy, it's kind of like, I used to share this because I live near the suburbs of Chicago, so I heard a Buddhist monk say this one time, and it made so much sense. You're not trying to escape your thoughts. You're staring at this beautiful building in downtown. There's all these cars and noise and ambulance and police going on, people yelling, screaming, whatever's happening in front of you, all the stuff in between while you're watching the skyscraper. Your whole thing is you hear all that stuff, but it doesn't pull you away from your attention of enjoying the beauty of the skyscraper. If you want nature, look at the mountains, ocean, your child, whatever you want to use. But it's not pulling your attention away. And that's the key component when it comes to that. Try these 3 things out for the week and report back to us. Let us know. Connect with us on social media. Join our Facebook group and share what your experience was with this. I want to hear from you. I want to know, is this helping? I want to make sure it makes an impact. I know it has for me, and I feel like it would for you also. If you're enjoying this kind of stuff and you're looking really to create a huge shift in your life for this year and the many years after that, we have an online course. Check it out. This is for people who truly want to create a transformation and go much deeper into this kind of work. It's a 10-week course. It's my most in-depth program I've ever created. And it's for individuals who are really looking to regain their power, to step back into the essence of who they are, to really let go and find that inner peace, that stillness, to help them thrive in every facet of their life. It's in the show notes. Do us a favor, if you enjoyed this, text this podcast to someone that you know that can benefit. I want to thank you for tuning in. And as always, I look forward to talking with you on the next episode.